This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Welcome to the 34th episode of the Deployment Dojo. This is a live show where we discuss and explore installation topics using the WiX Toolset. I'm your host, Rob Mensching, and today I'm running by myself. David is not available, so it's just going to be you and me, and we're going to do a wrap-up. I wish he was here, but we have a bunch of things to cover, so we're going to do that. I don't have much else to talk about since he's not here. It's welcome to see you, Bert, Miyoki, and Tom. What did we do last week? Last week we took a kind of a side quest, what I call the side quest, and jumped into the deep underpinnings of how you could do IT deployment using transforms and had a fun exploration of that. Today I want to kind of recap what we've done thus far and walk through the upgrades, because we haven't tested upgrades in a long time, and I want to make sure that that works correctly. I've not done any validation before this show, so if anything goes wrong, it's all on me, and we're going to find it out together. So let's go ahead and switch right over to, not that. I need my other window. Let's see. I have too many windows open. Let's see. We'll bring this up. All right. Make this a little bigger, and we'll switch to it. Here we go. All right, we've been doing a lot of work inside Visual Studio, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's really nice working inside Visual Studio. We get all the autocomplete and things like that. But today, since we're doing mostly focusing, at least in the beginning, on upgrades, we're going to be doing a lot more on the build side of things. So I thought we'd go back to code for a little bit. I'll go ahead and open Visual Studio Code here, make it about the right size, a little bigger for you guys. And that looks pretty good. And we're going to do a bunch of installs over and over and over. So the sandbox is going to get a big workout. So as always, to get kicked off, and it's been a while since we've been in code, let's get our build command worked up. And this is the thing that we're going to be changing a lot. So I'm going to start with this. Let's see here. Upgrading our configuration. So I'm going to go ahead and commit this change. Start episode 34. Upgrading our configuration. And we can see that we've got version 34 in here, so we get this party started. Would I like to commit these changes? I have no changes. Cancel. Oops, I forgot the stage. It's been a while since I used the Visual Studio Code interface. There we go. That's our change, ready to commit it. And oh, I need to create a new branch. Whew, that would have been a mess. Let's see, source control, branch, create branch, episode 34. There we go. Commit on to another branch. Woohoo! All right, now we're set up. Man, I'm really glad we have Git in all of this so we can see all these changes as things go on and on and on. All right, here we are, and I'm gonna build from the command line. We haven't done this in a while, and let's just run it. So we should get version MSIs. Remember, we have this change. Why don't we just look? Let's see. We have these. If we look in our built test package WiX project, we have our defined constants of build version. And remember, build version is set from the outside right here in our batch file. That's what we've been updating every week, is this build version. When we build inside Visual Studio, that command line parameter, because we're not using the command line inside Visual Studio, when we build, we get this 0. So all of our builds, when we're doing our dev builds and sandbox, have always been version 0. We don't show that a lot in the UI, but it's always version 0. But today, because we're going to do a lot of upgrades, we need to have a real number, and we're going to be playing with editing that number a bunch of times. So that's why I'm going to build from the command line to make sure that our MSIs have versions on them, because when you pass through the command line, it overrides this default property, sets it here to this define constant in our project file. And then when we look inside our project, or inside our package, sorry, our WXS code, we use that version. So it flows from our batch file into our WiX proj and in the version. Just a little quick refresher from, I don't know, it's quite a few episodes ago to remember how we set the build version. And I will now do a build. Let's see, I need my command prompt to be a little bit more visible so I can keep grabbing it instead of having to go over to my taskbar. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, build. All right, gets our environment set up so we can run MS build. We kick off MS build and we wait for it. And it rebuilds everything, including our IT config tool from last week. That'll be nice. We have it kicking around. And there is our MSI built right there, the belt test package MSI. So let's bring up our Dojo and make sure that the right version is in there. Sorry, bring up the Dojo. Bring up our sandbox, which I named dojo.wsb. All right, here we are in sandbox. Let everything open up here real quick. All right, I am going to keep track of this version column over here. Right now it says 1.00. And let's go ahead and go into bin x86 debug enus belt test package, kick off the install. Wait for it, hit F5, and there we go. We can see we have 0.34. That's great. That's what we want to see. And now that we've done that, we probably will want to modify the file. So we have a lot of different scenarios to test. And if David was here, I'd give him a flip a coin of which scenario he wants to do first. I could ask chat, which one you guys want to do first? Do we want to do a customization, or we want to just make sure our normal upgrade works from before? Do we want to do the basics, or do we want to jump straight into, let's change where the command line is installed to and get that going? Basically, do we want to edit the data folder from the beginning? Jump. All right. Martin's ready to get going on all this. I can see it. All right. So that means I need to uninstall belt test here. Yes, I want to uninstall it really quick. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and open up start, because I think it'll be easier if I show it visually than anything else. Not that this window is very readable. We're going to go into belt test package bin x86 debug enus. We have built this. This is the 0.34. So I'm going to create a new folder. I think I can create one in here. I don't know if the build will delete it. Let's see if it creates it. Version 0.34. Take all these files and put it into that directory. And we're going to see them move. Look at that. They moved right here. This is the sandbox window right behind us. So you can see they all jumped into that folder. All right, so now we have a version 0.3.4. Let's go ahead and build ourselves an upgrade one, a 0.3.4.1. So we could change the first three parts of our version number in MSI. That will create a major upgrade. So we will do that. So we will then create I will build for the command line again. And if everything works the way I hope it does, and it doesn't delete all my directories. Oh, that's not the right window. Yay, it did it. So it left my version 0.3.4 there, and I am now going to create a new folder, version 0.3.4.341. And I will grab all these files and put them into that folder. Okay, now we have two folders where we've built, and if we need to build another version, we can do that. So we're now set up to customize our initial install and then attempt to upgrade it with and without customizations, and let's start seeing what behaviors we get. All right, so I cleaned up the sandbox. We don't need our services open, and I don't know that we need this file. We'll leave that open so we can see it. And let's just start experimenting. I'm going to put this in the C drive because we're going to customize our install to always put the data files into the data folder into a folder called data. All right. Open up a command prompt, make it nice and big so everybody can see it. And we're ready to start all of today's work. Let's get into it. All right, I have this open. Let's slide this over. So now we'll see our apps getting installed over here. We'll see our data folder getting installed there if everything works. And we will see our MSI show up in that window when I refresh it. That's kind of what we're doing here. Version 03.4. MSI exec switch I. The belt test MSI package. Data folder equals C:data. That's where we want to put this. Log everything into log.txt. Actually, I'm going to do my thing. I usually call it i.txt for install because we may want to create some uninstall logs. And I'm going to go double check to make sure that data folder is the name that we used. Yes, there it is. Data folder. That's the directory we're customizing. All right, cool. All right, we know this works, right? This is our code from what we've been working on. So let's go ahead and install this. We'll get a data folder here if everything works. Ta-da! And there's data folder. And if I open a new command prompt to get the path all set up, console app1. Ta-da! We're running with our standard console app with our valued customer because we're not doing any customizations to create a transform to modify the customer to like Fire Giant or whatever. All right, so we have proven that, or at least we've shown that everything looks like it's working. And if we look real quick, we see that version is 0.3.4. All right, we're at our baseline. Everything seems to be good here. Let's just now jump into our upgrade. So to upgrade, I am just going to do, I could do any number of things. I could just double click on it. How about we just double click on it? Because that's what most users would do. All right, so we have installed it. Nope, I'm not going to double click on it because I want a log file. All right, so we are going to install MSI exec /I, the belt test package in the 3.4.1 directory, and we'll create a log file in here. What do we expect to happen? Well, one, we expect this version to change to become 0.34.1 to show that we actually did upgrade. The code's essentially the same, it's just that version number will be different. So that's something we do expect to work. Now, I expect that if our remember pattern is working, that our data folder will not move and it will stay here and everything will continue to work as it did before without doing any extra customizations. So I want this install to pick up the previous setting, keep the same customization, and then keep going forward. So this is what we hope. And I haven't run this, so I don't know if it works. Ready? Ready? This is where I need David because he says yes, and then we all jump. All right, here we go. Martin said jump. We're going into it. We do an install. Everything looks okay. Oh no, my version number didn't change. All right. Belt test MSI package, and the data is still here. We didn't even get an upgrade, it looks like. Why is that? I wonder if the version in this is wrong. Let's look at that real quick. We broke out Orca last week to show that tool can show us inside MSI. Since we did that, I have it on my command line. I'm just going to open it real quick, except it's not going to be in that directory. I'm going to open version 0.34.1 belt test MSI. There we go. I'm going to bring up Orca real quick. We're going to open it. We're going to look at the property, and we're going to see if the product version is not set correctly. Okay. Well, that explains that. Let's open our first one. Version 0.3.4 belt test package. Oh, did I not save the file property? It has the same version. Okay, so I used build.command. I thought I changed the number. And when I built version 0.3.4.1, it was not version 0.3.4. It was still 3.4, which explains why our upgrade did nothing. It said, hey, I found this package. It has the same version. There's nothing for me to do, and we're done. Okay, so let's go back and look at our build. 0.3.4.1. That should be enough to build a new version of the package. Did I not run build? That would be silly. Let's go ahead. We're back on here. I'm going to close the sandbox real quick, or at least minimize it so it's out of the way. Build 3.4.1. Here we go. Let's go ahead and build again. Let's look in our prompt. All right, I'm going to get rid of this because this is not 3.4.1. And let's build here and see what we get. Go, go, go. That built very quickly. Okay, now when you install Orca, it also ends up on your command prompt. And since I don't trust our build right now, let's figure out where it's at. That still says version 0.3.4. Okay. Do we generate a log file from our build? Because that's the next step. Where is our command line? We're not showing our command line? No, we're not showing the command line. Okay. Build this, build version equals 0.3.4.1. All right. How do you debug this? We're going to add -bl, which will give us a bin log. Ugh. I am going to delete everything here. I wonder if it's not cleaning. That might be the problem. Let's clean that directory out. Maybe that's a deficiency in our build that it's not cleaning and it's like reusing all the content. But it should, oh, that might have been it. All right, let me think of it. Let me explain what I just did. I deleted the OBJ folder, which is where a whole lot of our pre-build stuff happens. So when it's building, it uses OBJ and then it places all the files into the bin folder as part of it, which is why you keep seeing everything end up in bin x86 debug, because we're building an x86 MSI package and the debug version of it, and for the ENUS language. So that's why we end up in this folder here. But the actual build process builds to the OBJ folder, which I just deleted. And I think the issue here is that what happened is I'm just changing this build.cmd file and the version number here. And so this file is not considered part of the inputs to the build. It sits outside the build. So just changing this number here doesn't tell any of MS Build to say, hey, none of your files actually changed. None of the inputs actually changed because the build command isn't part of it. Therefore, it's like, I don't have to do any work and I don't have to build. So I expect that's our problem. I'm not going to create a log yet. I'm just going to do a build. By deleting the OBJ folder, it has to rebuild the whole MSI again. So when we do a build, it's going to go. And I think if I would have looked closely at the input up here, yeah, see, actually, that's exactly what's happening. Well, now it's building. Oh, I can't go high enough. There we go. Yep, see, we were skipping the build. We were skipping the compile step. All right, so there you go. If I ever mention that this is a live show, that should prove it. So what did we do? We deleted our intermediates because this build file doesn't build clean. I could do a number of things here. I could say MS build to do the rebuild target in our build file, which would clean and then do a build. But normally this build file is happening in our GitHub Actions, which is happening on a virtual machine that GitHub just created for us from scratch. So it's blank and it's a one-time run. So the machine gets provisioned for us, it runs our build and it throws everything away. This is clearly not meant to be run on Dell machines where we'll have dirty builds and everything. It's like, hey, if it's a clean machine, I can very efficiently run through everything real quick and build what exactly you need. All right, so something to keep in mind. Hey, guess what? A hiccup on our way to glory. All right, let's go ahead and put it in. All right, bin x86 debug ENUS. Well, let's open it up in Orca one more time just to make sure that the property actually got set this time. Property, product version 3.4.1. All right, so if you have a problem with your build and you're modifying files outside of the build process, remember that WiX and MS Build. We've done a lot of work in WiX to make it behave properly inside that. So when you do a build and you don't change anything, it doesn't rebuild your whole MSI. If your MSI is very large, it can save a significant amount of time. And in this case, it bit me because my inputs were changing, but I didn't actually change enough inputs to make a build. All right. Version 0.3.4.1. Now, MSI exec/I. We now know we have the right version in here. We still have version 0.3.4 on the machine. So when we install this time, we should actually see it do some work. And now we're finally going to see if our data folder stays clean and if our code gets deployed. So let's go ahead and do that. There, that's actually work. See the progress bar do a little bit of extra work? Oh no. Oh, our data folder went away. It got cleaned up, and then it came back right in the right place. And that is what I thought it would do. I was afraid it was gone forever. All right, let's look at our version. There's version 0.3.4.1. And you saw, I don't know if you saw it, but it blinked away. The data folder disappeared for a second, and then it came back. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's see if it worked. All right, open up a new command prompt. Make it big so everybody can see it. And drum roll, please. Console app1, run it. Okay, it's working, running at that. If we look at this, our data folder is there, and if we go look in the default location, there's no data folder here. So during an upgrade, it did remember that we said keep it in the data folder. And that's what you would expect, because I think we need to dig into how the actual upgrades work from here. All right. Because when you do an upgrade, the default way that upgrades are done, so if we look at our package, right, we have a major upgrade here. By default, what this does is it says when you're installing a new version, it finds the old version, it uninstalls the old version, and then it installs the new version. So it takes all the stuff off the machine, and then it puts all the stuff on the machine. But the upgrade happens after the new version has started a little bit. And that means that we get enough of app search to happen. So what happens? New version, in our case 0.34.1, runs. It does this registry search. It finds that we have customized the value, pulls that out, remembers this in the new install, remembers the value, tells the old version to uninstall. That one reads the folder, remembers it, deletes the folder, cleans up everything, finishes deleting all the files. That's why the data folder disappeared. And then the new version comes back and says, all right, I've cleaned off the old version. Now I will install my new version. And it continues on its way, and it remembered the value of the registry key before it was removed. So it knows, oh, when I put the data folder, it will go here. Should we try looking at the log file? It's gonna be hard to see in the log file, but let's see if it's possible to see it. i.text. Can you find i.text? No. Bin version 0 i.text. I want to bring it up in here because I think this is a little bit easier to read. And we're looking for data folder. All right, so let's see. All right, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this. Let's see if we can find the number of times a data folder is run. All right, so you can see here, this is the new install. So this is version 0.3.4.1, and it says we do the remember. So it found the value of C:data. That's where we have customized it. And then it sets it to data folder to that value, and we're good to go. And all of this, I want you to take a look at this. I think this number is what we want to look at. I don't know if you've ever looked at an MSI log file. Make it one more bigger. Yeah. This 7, no, that's a little too big. This 7C is actually the process ID and then the thread inside the Windows installer. And you can use this to tell which install you're in, because an uninstall, we should get a different number. All right, so we can see here, right in the beginning of our new install, we get a data folder found. Now I'm gonna let it go down. It sets data folder to C:data. We're still in 7C. Now we're gonna continue to search down our log file. And here you can see we're switching to the upgrade, and you can see now we have a new process because this is gonna be the uninstall of the old MSI. So we run here, and we're now in the old MSI, and it runs, and it has its data folder set. So it's actually being passed to the old value, which then remembers where it's at, and we're still in, slide over, we're still in B0. So we're in the thing being uninstalled, and you can see it knows that the value is C:data. So it found it in the first version. It ends up reusing that in the uninstall of the old version. And if we keep going, I don't know if we'll see anything. So we're still in the uninstall. These numbers could be very helpful to tell you which process you're in. B0 is the uninstall, 7C is the install. And we'll keep going. Here we are in B0, and it can show, we've never looked this deep in log file, but you can say, hey, we're removing these registry values, which is true. We do remove the registry values. And then we finish up. And this N here, when you see this property dump at the end, because you see, hey, it finished the install of B0, this property N is a dump of all the properties from the nested install, from the uninstall inside that. I would have rather they just put the process ID in here so you could see exactly which process you're in, but this is fine. So it said, hey, look, during the uninstall, it remembered that data folder was this value, which is good. Now we're gonna keep going, and we will see it. I'll scroll down here. B0 does a bunch of cleanup. I was hoping it would be closer. does a lot of cleanup, and then we're done here, and data folder is set. Oh, I'm getting all the app data folder now. And here, yeah, you can see we're back in 7C again, and we have the values back again. Most mysterious N ever. Yeah, the N is the nested install, because it's an uninstall of another instance of your MSI. So as you can see, we're back into 7C, and it's showing us all our properties here in the client side of the Windows installer, so where we were running, and it could show that our values are still remembered. And that's just app data folder. And I think we're done. I've looped around. I'm back to the top of the log file. Does that make sense? This is where I need David to kind of go, oh, I actually understood what you said, or did I go too fast through the content? So I wish he was here today, but I just missed him. All right, so we just saw that the upgrade worked. Ooh, there we go. Tom gave me an ooh, I'll take it. I don't even get that kind of reaction from David. David's just like, yeah, okay, I got it. Ooh, I'll take ooh. All right, so there you can see how by remembering the value, because this runs early in the install, the new version will read the version will remember the version. How to say this? It will read the value to remember the value, read the value at the very beginning, hold on to it, and then when the uninstall happens, it cleans all its stuff up, and then when it runs, it deletes everything and then installs again. What we haven't done though is proven that. But install folder will not be remembered without the product. All right, so let's cover Martin's thing next. But I want to do the important part, which we haven't done, is we now have 3.4.1. What happens if we uninstall it? So let's uninstall 3.4.1 and make sure that it actually does clean up the way it's supposed to. So here's my deployment dojo with all our files, and here's our data folder. With that, if this uninstall should work correctly, both of those folders should be removed. Uninstalling. Oh, my console app is still running. I'm going to tell it to automatically close. I'm curious if it will automatically close my console app. All right, so you can see here, still running, all that kind of good stuff. Console app 1 is still running. Let's see if it gets closed. I have so many things I want to see at the exact same time on this screen. All right, we're in the data folder here, we're in our install folder here, and we have console app running, and we've asked the Windows installer, go ahead and close that app for me, please. Oh, it did it. Control C, exited, cleaned up everything, no restarts needed. Everything is all nice and clean. Uninstall worked. Cleaned up our customized data folder. All right. So there we go. We've seen it actually work. This is what I wanted it to do once. Honestly, the hard part was just getting the build to work to get us a new version. To Martin's question. Martin's question is, but install folder will not be remembered without the same pattern. So you have to go back to our episode a while ago where we spent a bit of time, I'm trying to find my Visual Studio Code here, of why we had to do this whole remember pattern at all. And when I was first going through this, I thought the data folder was not the thing that we were going to have to remember, that it was going to be easy. It would just work for us. But it didn't. And it didn't because data folder doesn't have a file key path. If you remember, because we're using registry keys, it's the first registry key. The registry key is the key path for the component, which is the component that's how the component knows that it's installed properly on the machine. If this reg key is missing and you do a repair, be like, oh, I got to fix all these things, all that. When you don't have a file as the key path, the Windows installer optimizes and doesn't bother to remember this data folder. However, if you do have a file as the key path, for example, like in the console app, this component is installed to the install folder. This file is the key path because it's the first file inside the component. It will cause the Windows installer to go, oh, you put this file in this folder, and because it has a file key path for the component, I need to remember that that file is the key path. Therefore, it remembers the install folder for us automatically, and we don't have to do the remember pattern for it. So we essentially get directories remembered for us automatically by the Windows installer when you have at least one component installed into that folder, which we have several files being installed. Well, several. We have like 5, 6 files being installed into install folder. Yes. But it also requires it when you uninstall too. Is there a better option for launch than this? No, launch conditions work just fine. You just have to tell the launch condition not to run during uninstall, which is the best way to do it. And usually the way to do that, that's a digression. Tom, hold it. If I remember, we have a little bit of time. I'm almost ready to go in sparring. This is where I really need David. Does this make sense? Can everybody give me a thumbs up in chat? Like, did what we do make sense? The way we watched through the log file, how we saw that the new install grabbed the value out of the registry, remembered it, held on to it for the upgrade, let the old version be removed, the new version be installed, and that directory was put right back where it belonged. All of that makes sense. Everybody thumbs up, something, yes, cool. If that all makes sense, then I'll go toss in I'll go try to do the launch condition real quick. It actually brings up an interesting point. Have I put everybody else to sleep? Tom's still here. Miyuki, Bert, you guys are here. Everybody's away from maybe they're watching from like a TV or something. No, they said hello. It's great to have you guys here. All right, I got a Martin. Trying to get the other two to kind of go say, hey, yes. All right. I'm going to take it that the other two are sleeping. Or good. Oh, I have to do this without IntelliSense since I have Visual Studio Code. Let's see. Can I do this? Is it message? I might have to remember. Let's just do your example real quick, Tom, while we're going. We're going to go sparring. All right. I'm going to go a few minutes over because Tom asked an interesting question, and it's actually kind of relevant to the way the upgrades work. A license key is required. A license key is required to be provided on the command line. I don't know. It's a message. Condition, I'll bring this around. Condition equals license key. Right? Right? Thank you. I need to get that on a timer. I'm going to get that on a timer. I just haven't done it yet. All right. Because that's always the one I forget. I go to sparring and then I stay there. I got a double thumbs up from Bert, so he's happy. All right, so launch, message, a license key is required to provide on the command line, condition equals license key. I don't have Visual Studio here, so I'm hoping I'm just doing this by memory. Let's go ahead and minimize the sandbox for now, and we'll do a build. And let's see if it can remind me. Zoom, zoom. It is rebuilding MSI. Hey, look, I think I got the syntax right the first time. That's amazing. All right, we'll bring our sandbox up. I don't want this one. I want this one. And we are going to go up a directory because this is where our belt test was built to. We're not using 0.3.4.1. We're using 0.3.4. We actually are using 0.3.4.1, but not from that directory. All right, built into our location. This is a new one. MSI exec switch I. Belt test, and I will do my thing that I always do. Always have a log file just in case. We'll do an install. I expect this to fail if I got the syntax correct, saying, hey, a license key is required on the command line. Yay, a license key is required to be provided on the command line. So that's good. Great. Now, if I do that, license key equals 1. It's a very, very sophisticated license key. All right, great. We installed. Wait for it. Cool. That's good. And it looks like our apps are here, and we'll just open up the Windows format. Yay. Nothing big. Okay. F5. There it is. We're gonna name belt test. Still 0.3.4 because that's where I left it. And when I uninstall, yes, it says, hey, a license key is required, provided on the command line. Why is that? Well, we have a launch condition that says anytime you run the install, a license key is provided. You're like, oh no, I'm stuck. How do I get this off the machine? Well, it turns out we can run the command with a /x, not /u. I don't know why. /x will give us an install. And that's why I name my log files i.text, because I often have to create one x.text. All right, so we will uninstall belt test MSI, passing license key, l*v, x.text. Uninstall. Are you sure you want to install this? Yes. And yay, we're able to get the machine off, but because we get the package off the machine, the sandbox that is, but we couldn't do it from add remove programs. What do? Well, this is why you should always add to your conditions when you write them this very important part. Not installed. And what this says is only run this condition if we're not already installed. If we're installed, ignore this message. And this avoids tremendous amounts of problems. Let's go ahead and build. I'm going to build 3.4.2 and build. Build command. All right, let's have that happen in the background. This install is a built-in property. The Windows installer sets it for you. I think it sets it to like the date time or something like that. It's not one, and it's not true. It's just some set of strings. We can look in the log file when we get there and run it. All right, cool. So we've rebuilt that. The package is off the machine. Let's go ahead and install it again. MSI exec/I. We'll do an install, no license key. I removed the license key, shows that the condition is still there, and it does catch us on the initial install. So now I will run it with license key equals, we'll do, I don't know, 42. Very sophisticated license key. Look, it allows us to go through because we set the license key. This is all good. Everything is here. Our app is back and we could run it. I'm not going to bother right now. Actually, I just want to see this happen again. Console app running in the background. Click. Now we want to say uninstall. Our condition now says not installed. So when we uninstall it, it's like, are you under? Yes, please. Oh no, it didn't work. Wow, it got me. Here I thought I was being smart. Why did that not work? XFX. Oh, the syntax always gets me backwards on the conditions. Launch condition is false if. Yeah, I did it backwards. Yep, I did it backwards. Sorry, it's not installed. Okay, let's get it off. I did it backwards. What, did I not? MSI exec/x license key. Oh, now I've got it stuck. I got the logic backwards because it's a launch condition, which is a thing I do all the times. And this should actually be installed or license key. And I totally busted it. Now, this is when we say, thank you very much for using a sandbox, because this would be stuck on my machine and we have a huge problem. Maybe one day I'll go into how to get stuff off your machine the right way, but not today. All right, there we go. This catches me all the time. This, kids, is why you run it, everything out of a sandbox. All right, we'll do a build. I'm just gonna finish this up real quick. This will work. We're gonna do it one time around. Blew my sandbox away nice and clean. After we get this build, we'll start it up again. Bring it up, it'll be over here. And one more time. I'm not sure we need this services window anymore. All right, here we are. Bin x86 debug enus. We will open a command prompt here. And that's such a great trick. Really appreciate that person that told me, Dino, that I haven't seen that person around, but oh, MSI exec/I, because we're not installed. Built test MSI package. No, Tom, the problem in this case is I couldn't uninstall. License key equals because the MSI itself was saying not installed. So launch condition was always going to block me once it was installed. I said, once it's installed, do not let it be uninstalled in a very, really bad way. So getting it off the machine is a little bit trickier. All right, cool. F5. Now I have changed the logic. I have done De Morgan's and I've taken the not of that. So now we will say uninstall this and it should work this time. There we go. We were able to remove it because the logic says installed or license keys provided. If the license key is provided, allow it to install. If it's already installed, allow it to install. And that's the way to think about launch conditions. All right. So the last bit to do is I created build.command for 34.2. I want to do one last bit just to show that it works here. New folder, version 0.34.2. And we will grab our files and we'll put them in 34.2. Then we will go back to our OBJ folder and delete that to make sure that our next build actually works. Get rid of these text files. All right, I've cleaned up manually. And now I will go back to my command prompt and I will update my build to be 34.3. Do a build. zoom, and we're going to show that this upgrade now works as the ending. All right, I'm going to let it float here, let this thing kind of run around. Other things people want to talk about, other thoughts they might have. Let's go ahead and, all right, I'm going to create another folder just for clarity while I give everybody a chance to kind of think through what we've done today. Think about what you've done. No, all right, cool. If I double click on 3.4.2, it'll tell me I need a license key. Yep, great. Version 0.34.2. MSI exec /I belt test license key. That go. Zoom. F5. Our belt test is on the machine, and when I double click on the upgrade, the belt test here, this should upgrade, and it will, yeah. Because it's not installed, so it will not let me upgrade this, but it will let me uninstall the other one. And we didn't quite show the whole problem with this. I'd have to go back and do that. But the issue here, all right, so if I install this now, this is .3 installing over .2. It still needs a license key to provide it because it's a new install, but the important part is that it can successfully uninstall the other one without providing a license key. So the upgrade works. And now you can see that we're at 3.4.3. All right, that's kind of the way it works. If you did not have that installed or part of the condition during the upgrade, it would have tried to uninstall and it could have blocked it. Tom, I love you so much. Come back next week. Martin, there is a reason we're moving away from inner text for several reasons, but inner text creates all kinds of challenges inside XML, and we have plans going forward to make things work easier. We just didn't get them all into WiX 4. So yeah, it's kind of a hiccup dealing with some conditions inside attributes, although you don't have to escape as many things in conditions as you did when you were inside elements. I don't think, or inside the inner text of an element. So consider it's a step in the direction where we want to go, and we need to close that gap for the C data for conditions. So I hear you. We just didn't quite get it there. So everything is attributes. If you notice, there's nothing left inside inner text anymore, and that was a goal. That was a purposeful design goal that we didn't quite close all the way in WiX 4. So there's a little bit of pain, but we're on our way to making that better because we have a plan. You shouldn't have to do all the GTs and LT. Not all of them are necessary, only some of them. And I don't remember which one is. I think it's only the GTs, only the greater. It's one of them. I'm pretty sure you don't have to escape as much when it's inside an attribute. All right. I've gone 15 over. These episodes off to go to 45. It's all right. David wasn't here. I hope this made sense. David's kind of my, well, he's the student. He's the one that helps me make sure that I've explained these things well enough that he, with even less experience than all of you in chat, you wonderful people in chat, no. So hopefully this makes sense to all of you watching later. And I think we've kind of closed the chapter on configuration, which means we're going to pick up a new topic next week. And if you want to know what that topic is, you can go look at what Tom suggested we do last time. And I think that's what we're going to go tackle because a lot of people have asked for our next topic. So I'm going to leave it there. You guys all know what's coming next. I'll be here next week. Hopefully you'll join me again. Hopefully David will join us next week. And yeah, we're going to have some good stuff. Until then, you guys keep coding. You know I am.